Hello, and welcome to Bread Making with Chris. For the benefit of, yes, there is somebody who wants to see me do this, so I'm going to do it for her. Yes. And yes, so what we've got here, kilo of flour, bread flour, very strong bread flour. That's the way I like to do it. Butter, sugar, salt, dried active bread yeast, cold water, there's some hot water over there, 3 bowls to keep this simple. I could probably do it in less, but I'll do it in 3. Right, let's go. Scales, yes, scales are important. For the maths of this, take the first ball, put it on the scales, 0 it. Kilo of flour, which this isn't, but will be by the time we're finished. Five, 6, 700, 800. Are you gonna get there? 800, 900. Whoops. 86, 96. Just over a kilo. Into that we throw the salt, which should be 16 grams. But I've been thinking that's not enough. So find me a teaspoon. I think I did 24. So the salt goes in the flour. I think I did 24 the last time, and that was better, but I still didn't think it was right. So we're going to go, we'll go to, should we go a bit more? We'll go to 30. Look, 30 grams of salt. Need a knife. 30 grams of butter. When I find a knife. La 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 la. Just dry that. 30 grams of butter. That looks about 30 grams to me. 0 them again. 31. Eee. What an incredible judge of butter I am. Never thought I'd say that. I can go back in the fridge. Now, that's bowl 1. We'll put that aside just a sec. Bowl 2 is 16 grams of yeast. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You can go back in there. 2 teaspoonfuls of, what do with that teaspoon? 2 teaspoons of sugar to act as food for the yeast. Let's reboil that kettle. Heaped-ish. Oh, I think we can say that's heaped. We can get rid of that now. Then what we need is heat rises. Yeah, let's do the hot water first. About 200 millilitres of hot water. Millilitres of that, mixed with 400 millilitres of cold water. And I've just seen the problem with this Pyrex bowl. It only goes up to 500. Never mind. We'll put the rest in. The rest in. The other 100 millilitres in a moment. Straight into the bowl. So we won't be needing the scales anymore. Well, they'll shut off when they're ready. Right. And we need another 100 ml of cold water. So while that's fermenting, that's supposed to ferment, I think, for about 10 minutes. So we won't wait that long. Clean hands. This now needs to be rubbed in. The butter is mixed in with the salt and the flour. And this apparently needs to get to something that approaches a crumb-like consistency, though it's questionable. What crumb-like looks like, really, I think. So I'm just rubbing the butter into the flour and mixing it up somewhat so the salt diffuses through the flour. All the lumps of butter are getting mixed in. So we'll stop there. And you can join me when I finish rubbing. Right, so I've rubbed in all the butter and the salt obviously mixed in there as well. It's now 8 minutes since I put the sugar and the water. That's supposed to be crumb-like. To me, it just looks like a heap of flour. But then it says make a well. I think it's time to roll up the sleeves above the elbow. And my fermenting yeast and sugar just looks like that, quite honestly. So 600 millilitres of water, 200 of hot, 400 of cold to make warm water with 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now go into the flour. in the well you've made. Now the room temperature is 19 degrees according to the thermostat. As you know, I'm tight with money, so I don't like to keep the house any warmer than it needs to be, even at my advancing age. So now we need to mix this in together until all the dried flour and all the water disappears into a big claggy mess. One hand, it feels tepidly warm, well more than tepid. And what we're going to do, we're going to get that to a big claggy mess before tipping it out and kneading it. And if we need any more water, we have, I think we could put another 50 millilitres in, but I wouldn't do that as a rule. And this is what you get, a big claggy mess, for which, if I can reach them, or I can see it, hang on, back in a sec. Nearly did it. I'll have to go in the bin. I have my shaper thing for shaping dough and cutting it. So most of it's there, but at the very bottom there's some still dried flour that the water hasn't got to. And that's just like, because the water was in the middle, as we squeeze and turn it, more water will get to the bottom of the bowl, pick up the dried flour. Nearly there. You know what, I think we might need more water. So what we'll do, we'll turn it upside down. That will probably be damper. Nearly there. So this is almost like kneading, but not quite. Nearly there. Now we'll get what's left on the sides. And that has got all the dried flour into what is this primordial dough mix. Which is a claggy mess, which doesn't come off the fingers too easily. Now I've read various things about when you should flour your countertop, which I'm using. Now my countertops are granite. It's been cleaned, but it is quite cold compared to the house. It retains heat, but it also doesn't gain it very quickly. So I've tried with flour, without flour, it doesn't seem to make any difference. So we now have something approaching a dough ball, which I think we can now knead. Now The first recipe that I saw said you need to knead it for just 8 minutes, but that was for half the mix. So I've decided I need to knead it for 12 minutes. It's 32 minutes past, so we need to knead this for 12 minutes. Now I've tried to do this one-handed and I can't. Apparently you just got to push the heel of your hand in, but I find the best thing to do is use my left thumb to twist it at the same time. And we're going to do this for 12 minutes, which is 44 minutes past, until we get a nice smooth ball. I think you can join me when we're ready. Welcome back. We're now 12 minutes in. We've now got a nice, what I think is a good decent ball of dough. Stretching it out. And the third bowl has now got greaseproof paper in, a bit of flour at the bottom. I've seen recipes that talk about oiling it with olive oil, which I do have and I have tried, but it seems a little bit greasy when you take it out later on. I think we've done about as much. I'm never quite sure how hard to do the kneading. Clearly it's to stretch it and to get air in there to mix with the yeast and water. So we have a big doughy mass. And we'll chuck some flour on and chuck that into there. Now, my contention is that there's a chemical reaction going on which would be greatly enhanced by a warm atmosphere. I don't have an airing cupboard and I keep the house fairly chilly. So my secret, such as it is an old piece of granite that's 6 inches square that has been in the oven at 80 degrees for 20 minutes. That's warm, quite warm. But not hot. But a little bit too hot, I think. So what we'll do is put a plate on it, and that will heat up the plate, heat up the bowl, and the warmth generated from within the dough chemically will keep it warm. Right, I'll join you back in 60 minutes after I've had my tea, in the hope that this has doubled in size. And welcome back. And the stone's pretty chilly now. It's more than an hour. It's an hour and 46, an hour and 20 minutes. Oh, and look at the size of that! So that's risen. That's risen a lot. So we can dispense with the stone. Get that out of the way. Now we need to knock it back slightly, which is not a lot, and then we need to shape it into, well, half and half. If you broke it into half, you'd have two loaves for you could make two loaves with that. They are £2. £2. You get two of them in there. You just got to shape it into a sort of long sausage that fits. Or alternatively, I'm going to go for 16 bread buns. Now we need flour. Get rid of the dry crud. And yes, tip this on itself, I think. Feels incredibly light. I suppose I could have oiled it slightly, but you know, this is okay. Now the way I think I'm going to do this is cut this in half. And cut it in half again. And then we're going to knock this back till it's flat. Make a little ball. Two little balls, each has a worried friend. Three little balls. Each had a worried friend. Right. Now we're going to cut these in half. And half again. Each had a wobbly train. Two little boys. Each had a wobbly train. And there we are, 16. And what we're going to now do is just what we did before. I'm going to fold it. Fold it in on itself, bit of tension in the surface. And there, that goes on the tray. There we go. Baking tray. All it is, greaseproof paper, bit of flour, so it doesn't stick. And then I'm going to cover that with my proving cloths again. And then we'll leave that for another, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. Round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. Another bread bun. I think we're knocking it back to get some of the air out, and then we're putting tension back in. I mean, I don't understand it all. It's just what I've seen on the videos. Just picking it up, rolling it in. There we go. I mean, you could weigh them, get the exact same amount, but I don't think that's necessary. If you wanted them to be exact, well, you'd buy them from a shop, wouldn't you? Now, I could have, instead of dividing them to make 16, I could have easily divided it to make 12. Similar sort of process. Folding it in, stretching the surface. Obviously that becomes the bottom. So there's one plateful, and we'll cover that with another proving cloth. Again, I still think a little bit of heat's necessary here, so I'm putting this on the windowsill, over the radiator. So there we go, a light dusting on the top. I don't know what it does, but I'll do it anyway. Proving cloth, come back in. It's 9:20 now, 10ish. This is going to be a late bake. And we're back! Yes! Actually, it's 3 minutes past 10. So I think that's the best part of, what would that have been? Was it about 20 past? So it's been about 40 minutes, maybe it's 45 minutes. And I have cheated slightly because it's quite chilly in here. I've just been watching one bread making video, and I think it needed to be a little bit warmer. I mean, it depends how warm your house is, but say I'm pretty cold-blooded. I was warm-blooded, so I don't need the heat. So 19 degrees, 19, 20 degrees is a bit chilly. So I turned the oven on. Well, actually the oven was on. Had been on. It was actually still quite warm. So I put it to what? Well, it was below 100 degrees. Probably, I don't know, what would have been about 50 or 60 for about 10 minutes, and that made a hell of a difference, because that's what we've got, which I think, judging by my hand size, I think that's pretty bloody good. So what, they were in there for about 15 minutes, I think. There's the other one, and then I took them out, and it's taken another 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes to get up to 220 degrees. So it's now time to put them in the oven. And I think we should give them a little bit more dusting for a little bit more character. And I see different recipes, and they all are different times and different kneading techniques. And I dare say my technique is pretty poor, but I don't know, it looks all great to me. Anyway, so they're going in. It's 10:05. Just as an experiment, I decided not to put flour on these when they were proving. And I think this was the one that was on the windowsill. So I think heat is important. So I might in future run the oven at a really low temperature. I've seen some videos talking about a proving drawer, which I think sounds like just like the bottom of the oven to me. I'm going to have bacon sarnies in the morning, ready for overtime. So this is a look and see sort of gig, really. We'll decide when to bring them out, judging on how brown I want them. So it's 10:05. Do a little bit of clearing up as we go, and next time we come back, I think it'll probably be about 15 minutes. We'll see what the result is, and we're back. And let me see, it's 17 minutes past. So actually, I think it's only been about 12 minutes. But I've had a quick look through the door, and the top shelf have got a nice brown look to them. So let's take the top shelf out and leave the bottom shelf, which is still fairly plain, for a few more minutes. So it's been 220 degrees in my fan oven. For what I think is about 12 minutes. And look at that! Oh, they're fantastic! Look at that! I don't know why I was doubting my own technique, because they certainly look nice. Bit hot on the hands. And they come apart. Ooh, they come apart very easily. So, look at that! I'll have to test one. Oh. So they are light as anything, and they're a bit hot, but my technique for folding seems to have worked. Perhaps I could have pressed them down a little and they'd be a little wider. But oh. 30 grams of salt doesn't seem to have made any difference, but they taste gorgeous. A bit doughy and they're sort of crap, but that's because they're still so warm. When they're dried out they'll be fine, or cooled down I should say. Getting really close to the taste of my mum's buns. Bloody marvellous. Oh, I'll cut the other one. Oh! I've run out of space. Oh, look at that! Pardon me. Probably give it a hiccup shortly.